Hi, Osman. Let's take a look at the newest set of essays you've sent to us. Okay, this is a rather complicated line graph, so let's see what you did with it. The given, you need an N here. The given line graph provides data regarding the levels of rainfall measured in million liters in 3 different countries, namely, careful, comma, and then colon here, not a semicolon. England, Scotland, Wales in the year 2018. It's milliliters, which doesn't mean million liters. So it's actually milliliters. So change that around, okay? Okay. All right. At first glance, it is evident that the measurement of all 3 countries followed a fluctuating trend. Also, the level, careful with your typing, of rain in England was the highest by the end of the period, while that of Wales was the lowest. Okay. So let's talk about a couple of things here. First of all, get rid of this comma, okay? A lot of people love that comma after that, but it just doesn't belong. Yes, it's true. It did experience a fluctuating trend. That's accurate. I'm glad that you decided to include an additional piece of information in your overview to make it feel a little richer. I can't say that I loved the piece of information you selected. Uh, there are a lot of things you could have said. You could have said something like, despite the considerable fluctuation, figures ended the year roughly where they began. That would have been appropriate because if you look at them, they really did. I mean, um, my favorite statement for this, though, is that um, although all 3 countries' rainfall fluctuated significantly, on average, England had the highest rainfall. That, for me, is the best, most appropriate overview you can have for this. Okay? All right. So, yeah, so it's true. I mean, not all overviews are created equal. Some are really like on point and some are kind of so-so. All right. Starting at about 110 ml in January, rainfall in England gradually fell to about 70 in the middle of the year, and then followed some variations in figures until it reached a high of approximately 135 in December. With regard to Scotland, so how many points do you have here? You have 1, 2, 3. Fine. With regard to Scotland, it started off at around 120 in the beginning of the year, then sharply fell to a low of around 20 the following month, after which it rose to a peak of 130 in March. At the end of the year, Scotland had recorded a little over? Is that what you mean here, or a little under? Scotland, what did you do in December? You were just a little over. Okay. So for Scotland, what have you got? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of data. Okay. At around 49 ml in the first month, rainfall levels in Wales fluctuated until because it's levels, okay, until they exceeded, ed, those, because again it's plural, of England and Scotland in July to reach a peak of around 130 ml. By December, rainfall in Wales had fallen to slightly over 50 ml. Okay, so you did some things here that I really liked, and you did some things here that I think you could have done even better. The first thing that I want to tell you is I thought your grammar was excellent. So as far as grammar and vocabulary are concerned, I thought you did a really, really, really good job here. Okay, there was 1 or 2 like minor mistakes, but they weren't like anything particularly serious. On the whole, I thought the grammar and the vocabulary used were excellent. Um, Now, as to the information you selected, I thought you did a good job because you didn't load us with too much information. That's a temptation here. You've got 36 pieces of information. And so what a lot of people do is they're just like, oh my gosh, where do I start? What do I include? What do I not include? And so that can be really difficult. Uh, what you did though is I kind of felt like there were some key points that you missed. Okay. So let's look at this one more time. You started with the beginning, and that was good. And then you told me about this 70, which I thought was meaningless. Like it didn't really help at all. And then you told me about this 135. So I didn't really like the figures that you selected for England. I thought there were far more interesting things. Like, let me show you what I mean. All right, so this is England, right? So you told me about the beginning, you told me about the end, but you forgot something. Okay, it had this peak in December, but it also had similar peaks in 2 other months. Okay. Okay. Yes, you mentioned this. This was actually a low. But did you highlight it as being a low? Not really. I mean, you just said it gradually fell to about 70. That doesn't tell us that that's the lowest point. Okay. So what you missed was an opportunity, one, to emphasize, okay, to kind of signpost some of these figures. And then again, I felt like you missed those two other highs that England had. Other than that, I thought you did a good job. So, in other words, rainfall in England fell to a low of 70 in the middle of the year, and then followed some variations in figures, and with three peaks of approximately 135 in July, September, and December. So it was really that minor a change, but this way at least you're focusing on, look, this is my low, these are my peaks, and this is where I began. And then it would have been perfect. Okay, so you can see what I have here is not too different from what you have, but I'm kind of emphasizing things a little differently, and I'm also adding those two other peaks. Okay, let's see, Scotland. This was good, and this was good, and then this was good. But then from March until the end of the year, we have nothing for Scotland. And that's a long time. That's like 9 months where you didn't give us any information about what was happening in Scotland. So, what could you have talked about in Scotland? Well, let's see. You could have mentioned that it had a second peak, okay, in October. I think that's fairly important, okay? Because it's not like it just had one peak and that's it. Okay. You could have said so, after which it rose to the first of two peaks of about 130. And then you could have like a semicolon. The second peak was in whatever month that was. So again, just a little detail so that you're not making it sound like there was only one peak throughout the entire year. All right, and then Wales. Let me just tell you what I think the key points about Wales are. Obviously, where it began. Obviously, this low, which is, yeah, this low essentially. And then we've got this peak here. And then this is super interesting. This is the only period of stability we have, okay, in this entire chart. And so I do believe that it's worth mentioning. You didn't really do that, did you? So what did you talk about? You talked about this. Yeah, you only gave me 3 points. You gave me the beginning, you gave me the peak, and then you gave me the end. But I think that plateau there, I think it's very important. So you should have mentioned it. Okay, so I hope this gives you an idea about the kinds of things you want to mention when you're doing a chart like this, what the key points are, and what you kind of want to focus on when you're doing it. You had the right idea, but when you're looking at the band descriptors and it talks about fully developed, adding this information would have led to a more fully developed answer. Okay, and then of course, as you know, that will help your band score increase even higher. But on the whole, I thought it was a really, really well written task one. Let's take a look at your task two. All right, so let's take a look at your task two about fathers staying home, mothers working. Let's see what you wrote. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have raised some concerns regarding the growing trend of parental roles being switched in a 21st century household. This essay will discuss why these changes are irrefutably positive and also give reasons why they are occurring, comma, here, right here after occurring, citing examples from Oxford and Harvard University to prove points and arguments. Okay, great. I love it. You might have said universities because it's two universities, but other than that, I think it's great. I love this irrefutably positive. That's wonderful. And I love that you also said that you're going to give reasons. So that's exactly what you need to do. Yeah, very good. Oh, one other thing. Parental roles being switched in the 21st century household. Now, I know that probably sounds really weird because you're thinking, Ellen, you go on and on and on about how to use the. Well, yes, I do. But when you use the like this, it's a way to emphasize and it's a way to show like that you're referring to all 21st century households. So think about this example. The car has changed the way we live. So I don't mean one specific car. I mean all cars when I say a sentence like that. So here in the 21st century household, it would have that same kind of meaning. Okay? All right, let's keep going. There are several reasons for the transition of men becoming full-time stay at home. That's the word we use, stay at home dads. And one main reason is the increasing advancement in women's work and education. Arguably, comma, mothers who have higher status earn more and also play significant roles at their workplaces. Consequently, fathers who might have less demanding jobs take on the mandate of staying at home to cater for their children. Empirical research published by Harvard University, capital U, demonstrated that, get rid of that comma, we've talked about that, statistically 80% of mothers in the last decade earn more money than their, you're missing a T there, husbands. And as a result, most dads are opting to stay home to avoid the high cost of childcare care. Great. Another reason for this advancement is from the impact of gender equality. Admittedly, comma, the acceptance of this way of living has created an equitable division of labor. Uh, hmm, has created an equitable division of labor and allowed women to be more active at work. Okay. I can't say that I love that last reason about the impact of gender equality. The rest of it I loved. So you did a lot of things here I really liked. You didn't talk just about mothers, you also talked about fathers. So let's talk about what was good and what could have been better. So you said, okay, women have been advancing in work and education. If they have higher status, they have this, etc., etc. Um, let's see. So fathers who might have, that was good, might, yes, less demanding jobs, take on the mandate. Okay. I feel kind of like you could have done a little more here. So here's what I'm suggesting to you. I'm saying that you could have gotten rid of, wait, you could have gotten rid of all of this. Okay. And instead, you could have talked about more of this. So, why? Great. So, let's say I'm a mother, I have high status, I have, excellent education, and I've got a really great paying job. So, maybe you can talk about women's decision to focus on their career and, not feel tied down to traditional roles, um, et cetera, et cetera. Here is where you might have wanted to talk about this. So let me, all right, let me think about this. One reason is the increasing advancement in women's work and education. Okay. Thanks to gender equality, women are now able to attain jobs with high status and salary and also play significant roles in their workplaces, making it very tempting for women to leave the traditional role, um, assigning them to staying at home and caring for the children, and instead, um, having significant roles in their workplaces. So do you see what I'm doing? I'm taking kind of what you wrote here and I'm adding it here and I'm kind of explaining how and why all this has happened. It's not very different, but it just creates a more cohesive kind of organization of your ideas. Okay. Um, let's see. Here, I think before you got into this explanation, which I liked, I think you could have said something else here as well. So, consequently, fathers who might have less demanding jobs take on the mandate of staying at home to cater for the children. Many times, families find that this is a more cost effective solution than having both parents work and relegating childcare to, uh, an outside source. Okay, and then you could say this. Okay, and then your statistic here makes perfect sense. So I really do feel like it needed a little extra explanation before you went to this. But, again, I'm talking to you about like ideal, really, really, really high level. These are the kinds of changes I think you could have made to make this a fantastic paragraph. If you had all the right elements, I just think you needed to kind of restructure, maybe just add one or two pieces to make it really top notch. All right, let's look at the next paragraph. Although fathers will get the chance to spend more time with their children, one main merit associated with fathers staying home to take care of children. All right, I think you could have maybe used a little cohesion here. Fathers, children, fathers, children. So let's see if we can use some sort of cohesive device to make this work better. Although fathers will get the chance to spend more time with their children, one main merit of this trend is that they influence, no S, the child's cognitive development. Undoubtedly, comma, children with educated fathers tend to do better in school, and this is a result of fathers with high vocabulary talking to them frequently. Recently, comma, research by experts from Oxford University proved that students who were brought up by their fathers showed excellence in complex language skills and painting. Additionally, it helped careful with your commas. You know where they go? They go directly after the word, and then you leave a space before the next word. Additionally, it helps to save money. Beyond doubt, comma, when fathers decide to stay home and look after their children, they save more money since they will not spend ridiculous sums of money to employ baby carers. We usually call them babysitters, but okay. It is conclusively clear that there is a considerably strong case to be made in favor of fathers staying home to take care of their children. Okay, so check it out. Here, your paragraph focused just on the dads. I'm wondering if there was something you could have said about the mothers too. How does this benefit the mothers? Does it benefit them? Okay, so I think I would have liked to see something like that. Now, here, you focused just on educated fathers, which was a little limiting because maybe, it's not really highly educated fathers that are doing this. Maybe, the mothers are making a ton of money, but maybe the fathers don't have this education. Do you know what I'm saying? So I felt like you really made it very specific and a little limiting. Maybe you could have replaced that with something else. Like maybe you could have said something like, yeah, great. It influences a child's development, but maybe you could have said it from like some other sort of example. You know what I mean? Or maybe you could have, but you just didn't have to talk about educated fathers specifically. Maybe you could have said that, children who grow up with their fathers develop better fine motor skills and gross motor skills because many of them spend the day doing handicrafts or I don't know, knitting or whatever. You can make up whatever example you want. I just felt like this was a little limited because um, maybe not all of the fathers who decide to do this are highly educated. Okay. But other than that, that was good. Let's say. Okay, this is related a little bit to what you wrote in the previous paragraph about high cost of childcare. It's okay. It felt a little repetitive. I'm wondering if maybe you could have said something else. So maybe here's a good time to mention the benefit that this plays to the mother. Like maybe mothers have maybe studies have shown that mothers who work have lower levels of depression than mothers who stay at home with children, or you could have said stuff like that. Um, I don't know. There were a lot of things you could have said as to the benefits for mothers. I'm just trying to give you a couple of ideas. All right. So, in conclusion, the future looks promising because there will be more children with great cognitive skills. Enough money will be saved by families, and fathers will get to spend ample time with their children. It is predicted that the current trend will increasingly grow in importance. Okay. So, I really liked a lot of this. It might sound like I'm giving you a lot of critique, but the reason for it is because I think this has the elements of an excellent essay. And I think that with some changes, you can make it really, 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 really strong. Okay. It's already very good, but like I said, I think you could even make your next set stronger. You're definitely on the right track. You're definitely doing great. So keep at it. Okay. I'll be looking forward to your next set. Good luck.